Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat?
It was a very odd year for Jameis Winston. Can we all agree on that? I mean, I think we all talked about it enough throughout the regular season with the New Orleans Saints, but some of it is worth rehashing because the narrative coming into the season around Jameis was he's coming back from the injury. He's your starter. He's not having to compete for a job with Taysom Hill or whatnot. He is your no doubt 100% starting quarterback week one. And that was fantastic because, again, the narrative is coming off the injury. He was 5-2 as a starter before getting the injury. You were right in the thick of things in the NFC South. Can you take the next step with him this year fully healthy? And week one, look, it was a rocky start, obviously, but you have the great comeback against the Atlanta Falcons in the fourth quarter, win the game, everything's roses. We find out eventually he suffered the 4 broken vertebrae in the back and a litany of other injuries, and he kept playing through it. It was a gut-wrenching, heartbreaking loss down the stretch there in the end to the Panthers. That followed a loss where you just kind of saw not the same Jameis Winston, right, with accuracy issues, some interceptions, trying to force some balls. That was against the Buccaneers week 2, and you're off to the 1-2 start, and then they finally benched Jameis for him to recover. And the narrative the whole time was Mike Triplett. Remember, Mike Triplett did the interview with Jameis Winston where Jameis told him he was promised he would not lose his job due to injury, and somewhere along the line, he got in the doghouse with Dennis Allen. I don't really think there's any other way to say that, because Dennis Allen could say one thing, but the actions told you another. Actions always speak louder than words, and it did in the case of Jameis Winston this season with the New Orleans Saints, where Jameis is telling you on the record there that he was told he wasn't going to lose his job due to the injury. And Jameis eventually returns. He's a full go in practice. He's active. He's over there on the sideline, dressed out, holding the clipboard, no longer designated as the quote-unquote emergency quarterback. He's the guy. Or I mean, he's not the guy, but he's available to be there if you need him when you would have gotten. And the losses, they piled up. And what did Dennis Allen kept saying? Matt played that audio ad nauseum on this show that Dennis Allen said, Andy gives us the best chance to win. Andy gives us the best chance to win. In reality, you were losing. And I think it was that point that everybody realized, okay, that 2-year, $28 million deal for Jameis Winston, probably not going to see it to the end. He's probably going elsewhere. They're going to cut him, not going to be back because he fell out of favor with Dennis Allen. But Jameis Winston, to his credit, spoke with the Saints News Network at the HBCU. I want to give the HBCU Legacy Bowl. Jameis was a guest captain and spoke with the Saints News Network as a division of Sports Illustrated and strongly expressed a desire to return to the New Orleans Saints. So, is there a path for Jameis Winston to return to the New Orleans Saints? It's a very interesting question. The answer is yes, but I think so many things have to happen. And first and foremost, I don't necessarily think it's the direction that this coaching staff wants to go. I think they've made that perfectly clear with how they handled that situation during the regular season, which we just rehashed. But yes, there is a path. If you don't get Derek Carr in free agency, you're down to either Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston. You're in the same situation you were in throughout this regular season. And again, now look, they made their intentions clear there. So while there's a path, it's not very big, not very long, not very open path at this point. And I think you also see that considering they're going after Derek Carr, that they don't believe he's one of the best options, or even that Andy Dalton is the best option there. But are they going to get Derek Carr? And that's an interesting question too, because Diana Rossini from ESPN reported today that Derek Carr is looking for a contract that'll pay him $35 million a year. And yeah, the Saints are great with the salary cap. And yeah, they could probably get there, but that's a lot of work. And I don't think you want to pay Derek Carr $35 million a year. I get it. That's market value right now for some of the mid-tier quarterbacks. That's right below Kirk Cousins. It would be right above Jared Goff and Matt Ryan and that crew. But is Kirk Cousins, think about it in this way, is Kirk Cousins leading the Vikings to a Super Bowl? Is Jared Goff going to lead the Lions to a Super Bowl? Is Derek Carr going to lead you to a Super Bowl? No. So, in my opinion, not worth $35 million a year. We'll see what the market actually ends up being for him. Does it come back closer to 20 to 30 million? You've seen some 25 million to 30 million reports today as well after the Diana Rossini report. So, if you decide, which I don't think the Saints are going to do because they're ready to trade for him and accept the $40 million guaranteed over the next 2 years. So I think they're very willing to pay it. But if something happens, say he goes to the Jets, what does that do for a path for Jameis Winston back to the Saints? Well, again, as we just mentioned, it puts you into the same situation you were in. And they chose Andy Dalton in the regular season. Why wouldn't they do it here? So there's a path. It's slight, it's small, it's tight. And personally, I don't think it happens. So how do you unload Jameis in the best way possible if you're the New Orleans Saints? Well, that's a post-June 1 release. You look at Spotrac, and if the Saints were to cut Jameis Winston, designate him with a post-June 1st release, it would save them $12.8 million toward the salary cap, and it would only carry a dead cap hit of $2.8 million in 2023. And with them trying to get into cap compliance, that still seems like the most likely path that it goes with Jameis Winston. And I'll tell you this, part of me, I'm disappointed in that. And look, they have to make it official and everything like that, but just all the signs have pointed to it for so long. I would be disappointed in that, but I think for Jameis Winston to work in the best way possible, it needed Sean Payton. I think that was Sean Payton's vision for Jameis Winston. It was Sean Payton that liked him a lot and wanted him here. And under Sean Payton, before the ACL injury, it was working. Jameis was protecting the football. You were 5-2, and in the heat of the division race in the NFC South, it never got close to that level again without Sean Payton there. And to me, it's just very clear still that they're not interested in bringing him back. We'll see what happens. I like that Jameis has expressed a desire to come back. And if that's truthful, I think that speaks to him well, because I think that situation was handled wrong by the New Orleans Saints this year when it came to Andy Dalton and Jameis. But we hashed that out already here in the segment. So, yes, there's a path. I don't think it's a likely path. They keep throwing roadblocks in front of Jameis. Post-June 1 release still seems like the most likely thing. And then it'll be interesting to see what the market is for Jameis Winston. It wasn't very plentiful the first time the Saints went after him. It was a little bit better the second time when they ended up signing him to the 2-year, $28 million deal. But he had bought in, man. He wanted to work under Sean Payton. We'll never know exactly how well that could have worked out at this point. And that is regardless of if Jameis is back or not, because Sean Payton coaches the Denver Broncos now. But I would be very interested to see if Jameis could get another deal similar to what he got with the New Orleans Saints. If he could get something in that 2-year, $28 million range after just an unfortunate set of circumstances for him in New Orleans. It will remain to be seen. I'd love to have him back. I think he plays a great role potentially there as a backup, even if you do end up with a Derek Carr. That's the other path, I guess, right? Is will Jameis take the backup role with the New Orleans Saints if they can land somebody like Derek Carr, or heck, even if they don't and they choose Andy Dalton, is Jameis cool with just backing him up for 1 year and then going into free agency? I don't know. The cap savings is really what gets in the way there. I don't think the Saints would pass up on saving 12.8 towards the cap when they're still 31 million projected above the salary cap. So we'll see how it goes. But if you ask me right here on towards the end of February, I still think the destiny for Jameis Winston is a post June 1 release from the New Orleans Saints.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.